that tells you they're not really ready for prime time. But if they pass that hurdle, if they name anyone other than Justice Corrigan, Markman, or Young, walk away quickly, because you've identified an empathy judge. Markman, Corrigan, and Young are to liberals like sunlight is to a vampire. And finally, remember to vote the nonpartisan part of the ballot. In every election, 30% of the people never vote in the nonpartisan part of the ballot, and they never vote for a judge. That's where we are. So your vote will have proportionally more weight because of that fall-off. Help me fight to restore the rule of law to the Michigan Supreme Court this November. I have now a Facebook. Yeah, I have a Facebook. And I now, as of today, have a website. It's Justice Bob Young, all one word, .com. So visit it. You'll learn more about my judicial philosophy. God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you. Let's not take too much of that. I understand you have some questions. Thank you. That's very generous, but you're taking up time with the questions. There were people who had questions. Yes, sir, in the back. Well, I gave you the question you should ask a judicial candidate. Whose philosophy on the Supreme Court is closest to your own? If they name Kelly, Weaver, Kavanaugh, Hathaway, you've identified an empathy judge. If they name Young, Corrigan, Markman, you've identified a rule of law judge. And the way these things work, it's oil and water. Nobody who's an empathy judge would dare name one of the three of us as their role model, any more than I would identify Ruth Bader Ginsburg as somebody I would emulate as a jurist. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Justice Young, who are the other candidates for the Supreme Court this election?
Well, the question is, who are the other candidates? A conservative. Oh, well, okay, that limits the list considerably. There are two candidates who are seeking the Republican nomination. Let me just simply say Betty Weaver is a current incumbent, but she has thrown her lot in with the empathy judges. So she's an incumbent. She may run. I expect her to run, but she's not a judicial conservative. So the two that are running and would like to run with me are Jane Markey, who is a judge on the Court of Appeals, and the other is Mary Beth Kelly, who is a circuit court judge. I trained Mary Beth Kelly when she came to she was a young pup lawyer who came to my firm. I also supported her appointment when John Engler was considering her. He did appoint her to the Wayne Circuit Court. Corrigan, Taylor, Markman, and Young appointed her to be the chief judge of the Wayne Circuit Court. And the four of us encouraged her to run. Either Jane Markey or Mary Beth Kelly would be an improvement over my colleague, Betty Weaver. Yes, ma'am.
Is it legal for illegal immigrants to vote simply by showing a driver's license?
I'm not going to answer your question, and simply because that's the kind of question that might come before the court. It's almost self-answering.
Does it happen? Is that all they need to get
Well, you know, that's part of our problem. We don't have a national, or even for that matter, a state system that requires citizenship as a condition of getting a driver's license. In fact, in New York, they were willingly giving out driver's license to we call them non-documented. No, just so that we're euphemistically not referring to what the legal status of these people are. So there are problems with the documentation that's required to vote. And at least the Michigan legislature took one step of saying, all right, you got to have something. And I'm just not sure what the Secretary of State requires as a precondition of getting a license. I don't know that citizenship is yet required. Yes, sir, in the back.
Ruling in the Supreme Court that ended up 5-4. If it were 4-5 in the other direction, does that really mean that Americans are only one vote away from losing their guns?
The question for those of you on the other side of the room is the vote today on the Second Amendment case, the McDonald case, was 5-4. And he posed the question, if it was 4-5 the other way, does that mean that we're one vote away from losing our gun rights? What do you think? You do the math. Well, you know, here we go. I mean, let me explain to you how the cow eats the cabbage here. We have Alito, Scalia, Thomas, and Roberts. And until today, we had on the other side, the empathy group. We had Ginsburg. Yeah, I have trouble remembering them. Ginsburg. Yeah, the liberal ones, and Stevens, Sotomayor, and the guy from Harvard, the bald guy, I forget his name, and well, Souter's gone. Now we have Sotomayor now, the wise Latina. So, and then we have the one in the middle, Kennedy, who he's never cast a vote that made his tummy feel uncomfortable. He's the one that flips back and forth. On the gun case, he flipped on the rule of law side. On the associational case, he was on the other side. He always goes home feeling good about himself. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that we have two of our Macomb County judges back here, Judge Viviano and Judge Sanborn. And I know that Judge Viviano, I believe he's termed out. Is there term limits for the Supreme Court?
The same one that all judges are subject to. You cannot run if you'll be 70. I think it's before the election. And there's another Viviano judge here, over there, and I think a wannabe. You don't have to be so shy. You can stand up and let them see you. All right. I think her signs are all over the city now, aren't they? Let me just say something about this wonderful family. The old court, the rule of law court, until 2008, appointed Judge Viviano the chief judge of this court in Macomb. We then appointed